Apex Legends is dead? Well, not officially yet, but I got a lot of messages about this game. I've seen some stuff in the news, and, well, it looks like if they continue down this path, it's likely Apex could become a shell of its former self. Maybe to many, it already is. In just the last year, Apex Legends has gone from averaging around 400,000 active players a day to around 100,000. And while, yes, this is just talking about Steam numbers, maybe the console players are still holding up just as strong and growing. Obviously, they have their own launcher that people use as well. This is still a pretty good indicator amongst everything else here. And by all means, 100,000 players is still really good, even for just on Steam. I think what stands out is the fact that this game is seeing such a massive drop-off in really just a year. And that's in combination with so many popular creators as well as fans announcing that they're no longer going to be part of this game, with no real shortage of posts from people saying why they were quitting and what's been going on, especially on Reddit. There was a post that went pretty big on Reddit of someone asking, why are people quitting the game? Saying even himself, he was playing Borderline religiously with a buddy a few seasons ago, mostly had forgotten about this game and moved on to other titles, but then asking other people, are you thinking about quitting? Are you in the process of it? Why so? And if you did give it up, how come? Saying his main reason was the constant nerfs to guns, buff to health, making everybody feel like a bullet sponge, on top of redundancy for abilities, and horribly managed quality control, which I was kind of surprised by. I haven't played the game much recently until we hopped back in just the other day to see what's going on. Finally saying it felt like the devs only care about the Pro League players and not the community as a whole. He's looking for some honest responses here, and there's quite a few that seem to be providing that. Many mentioning cheating. On top of that, bully Smurfies. I haven't heard that term for a Smurf before. A Smurf, of course, somebody who's a good player, makes a new account to get into the easier lobbies, restarting the rank climb over. And I will say, even in my bronze gameplay that I played in ranked when I just hopped back on, I was still playing up against gold players and people that definitely knew what they were doing. It might have been better for me to just play against bots, although I was kind of hoping I'd play with other people that were kind of new to the game or lower skill. I got obliterated in all of them, a spoiler warning. Played it for the first time last year, but the matchmaking is the downer for me. I'm still a noob and a new account. Then suddenly I'm matching with a high-level rank with cosmetics. Yeah, you see their banner card when you're going in of the victorious team. You're like, oh, I'm not going to win this game. I can't find it fun, to be honest. Edit played for about 3 months, then quit because of the horrible experience on matchmaking. There's 3 good guns in the whole game. All the loot is garbage. Whether you win a fight or not is based almost purely on luck rather than skill. The map rotations suck. The only new map they've given us is trash to play on. Haven't fixed servers. No reg is worse than ever. Unloading an entire mag into enemy with only 2 shots actually registering, of course. And the stats show cheaters are anywhere from 30 to 50% of the player base. Anybody who gets good is using cheats or some sort of aim assist. And there's an AI deciding who wins the fights and who misses all their shots. Okay, this goes on. That one was downvoted. This has 4 updates, though. I left in Season 19. Came back this season, keep getting ran on by 3-stack streamers. Solo queued, and I noticed the ones winning are all 3 stacks every game, all live, or TTV, and Preds, or Masters with all the badges. And with 9 upvotes, it's just a toxic community. Cheaters are just teammates flaming you because they think they're pros when they're both in silver. I guess it's just too competitive for me. And I'll be honest, that's one of the reasons that I ended up moving away from it myself. It very much became about the ranked grind, which I did do for the first season of the game and made it to Predator. But after that, it was just so painful trying to go through the ranks. I wanted something I could just enjoy a little bit more, which is more subjective to me and how I game. And of course, then on the actual pro side, one of the biggest professionals, his Watson, put out a video that has now over 1 million views with a serious talk about Apex Legends, voicing his concerns, this being seemingly very well received by the community and supported. I think it's safe to say, even if it's not everybody that's not liking the state of the game, there's something deeper going on here. So let's have a deeper look at some of the reasons for this. It's a game that I absolutely adored when it came out. It was a battle royale that we needed, something that was polished, and when it was released, it came out of absolutely nowhere. No teasers lead up to it. They just released it on a Monday and it saved gaming. But that was a long while ago. Now, Apex Legends is currently on its 23rd season. Wow. And this current season hasn't exactly had the best reception from fans. The only real major change that was made here was a character Lifeline receiving some new abilities, such as being able to glide or have her drone heal other players. I did run into her new ult ability as well, and that thing is wild. They also added something known as relic weapons. These can only be found in the casual mode and are older versions of the current weapons before they were nerfed. One exception being the new EPG, which was a brand new weapon introduced in Season 23. Can only be accessed as a relic weapon, but it's not even a proper new weapon, as you could use it in the Titanfall games too, which some people feel like is a lazy addition, although a lot of the weapons in that game are from Titanfall. Because all the relic weapons function like they did pre-nerfing them though, this has led to complaints that the relic weapons are too overpowered and ruining the experience. The fact that they can only be used in casual and you gotta go play in ranked to not deal with them leads to frustrations on which mode you even want to play. Anybody else tired of dying to people that normally would never kill you, but they have a relic gun? Now, it seems like it's catering to the bad players. Also complaints that this LTM is an entire season long, having to deal with these, and people who just want to hop in on quick play, have some normal fights, are getting destroyed by what is completely altered the main gameplay. Some might argue that this is redundant anyways, though, as this season also included an OG mode, where everything functions as it did back in Season 1, similar to something like WoW Classic, which has had a return, OG Fortnite, which has had a return. And while some fans were happy with this addition, others feel like because of all the new additions to the game that this mode just doesn't have the charm and appeal that it had when the game did first launch. I kind of feel as a whole, all these OG things, I mean, Warzone OG is going to be coming here with Verdansk, right, soon enough. I think it is a cool idea to go back and revisit and explore it, but it's also just never going to be the same. And I don't think that's something you can really bank on. Now there is just so much more competition. But this has led some fans speculating that including this mode was meant as a jab towards players who actively complain about all of the new content. The OG mode's great nostalgia, but I forgot just how bad the old armor system was. With over 1,000 upvotes on this, basically talking about the OG armor system is insane as it's completely RNG. Hot dropping where your opponent finds a purple armor and you literally don't get anything. Tough. And it's even worse because you also don't even get a weapon in the game either. So somebody else could get a weapon. You don't have anything and you don't have armor. In the late game, you haven't found anything better than the blue, but the last squad is triple perp gold. Too bad. This is why I was also so surprised. I mean, maybe not surprised, but disappointed that when Warzone 2 re-released with its version that it had armor systems that you would have to RNG find. But especially for a game like this that does lean much more heavily into the competitive side, there's a reason they made these changes. One of the most liked comments, though, was it almost feels like Apex is showing us how poorly balanced the old game was. The game has its problems now, but it's vastly superior than what it was at launch. And I played since launch. So maybe this is a bigger win for the community than they even realize, getting more people on board with the current state of things, while still having something if people really want to go back to the OG game. But when you release old content, I think that's part of this, where it's like it's not new content. Even if some of the newer players never played the old stuff, the older players and anybody would still appreciate truly new content. And the new stuff for this season was cosmetics. There was also some recent news about the game. On January 26, 2025, the animation director, Moy Para, that's how I say his name, announced that he will be leaving Respawn. Moy was best known for his animation YouTube channel, Tooncraft, where he makes short cartoons about different games such as Apex, Titanfall, Halo. He'd also often post behind-the-scenes videos, too, mainly of motion capture process for Apex, and explain some of the process and why he would choose to make cutscenes and animations in the direction that he did. Respawn has done a massive amount of work on not only the animations and everything in game for the fluidity of things, but also just the lore and world building from the characters, backstories, videos. A lot of people saddened to see Moy leaving, but why is this really relevant to Apex possibly dying? Well, Moy isn't the only major dev to be leaving Respawn in the last few years. Starting in 2019, we've seen executive producer Drew McCoy, design director Jason McCord, game director Chad Grenier, narrative director Mohamed Alavi, and creative director Ryan Lastimosa all depart from Respawn. There's a lot of people high up. And while this may seem normal at first glance, people leave companies all the time. After all, it's worth mentioning that Grenier, McCord, and Alavi all went on to co-found Wildlight Entertainment, with McCoy also going on to create Gravity Well Development Studios. It's possible that they weren't happy with the way that things were going at Respawn. This matches reports that Mohamed was leading the production of a single-player game set in the shared universe of Apex and Titanfall, but for unknown reasons, this game was canceled by Respawn and EA. But of course, we don't really know. These are all just rumors behind closed doors. Whatever the reasons for them leaving is, it's hard to ignore that they were all working on Apex at its peak, and without their influence, we could continue to see this decline, as their replacements may not understand exactly why the game was so popular in the first place. And we've seen this happen with many games over the years, even with Halo. Look how big this game was and what it is now. Even more recently with like Destiny 2, which many fans felt went downhill after its game director, Joe Blackburn, left Bungie Studios. Could Apex Legends suffer in the same way? Only really time will tell. I certainly always am hoping for the best of this game. Like I said, I have a special place for this game in my heart. Unfortunately, on top of everything else that is happening, it seems that Apex Legends is also having plenty of issues with hackers. This is just every multiplayer game right now, and it just keeps getting worse. Some of you may remember back in April when a hacker ruined a tournament by framing the contestants as hackers. The player, literally mid-tournament, realizes that he has hacks. They end up shutting the whole thing down. I mean, it caused the contestants to temporarily get banned and the competition just be completely canceled. Well, a similar thing happened again to professional players Imperial Hal, Sweet, and one of the game's highest ranked players, Rogue. They had the insane experience of people hacking and using their accounts even while they were using them. This meant that the hackers would join games, farm RP, and make it look like Rogue and the others were receiving double the RP that they should have even been getting. Their accounts were temporarily banned by Respawn, and while the situation now seems to be resolved with the 3 players getting their accounts back, it's still a worrying situation as this occurred right before the Apex Championship Finals, which isn't helping the game's already declining player base, as it could lead to existing players leaving the game and just further turning off any potential new players. This isn't the only occurrence of this, though, as many normal players are still complaining about hackers on PC and how nothing seems to be getting done about them. Even a lot of reports of people dying to cheaters, and as soon as I tried to report him, the game crashed. My duo also tried to report him, and their game crashed. So you can't get banned if you can't get reported. Same thing happened to me, my trio last week. All 3 of us melted from 300 meters away by Rage Hacker. Game froze, crashed before you can even report. People even saying, sadly, this game's way past saving now. And the more popular the game, the bigger the market there is for people to purchase cheats, and more cheaters there's going to be as a whole. We even saw this in Call of Duty. They just announced that they're separating out PC and console players, although they've had some initial issues with the launch of this in their new season, just to help people avoid all the cheaters that are on PC. The crazy thing is, Apex Legends was one of the first games to do crossplay. Although it took them a while to get the cross-progression element of it going, the hacker issue just has continued to become a bigger problem, to where now people are wanting to separate it again, or at least leave it for at least console only and PC separately. And on top of all of this, even some of the most popular Apex Legends content creators have begun to distance themselves from the game. One of the most notable people to do this was His Watson, who brings up a very good point of Apex not being able to decide whether this game is geared more towards casuals or competitive players, with some seasons favoring the casuals and others favoring the competitive side. with Season 12 to 13 being the best example of this, as 13 gave a much heavier focus to competitive play by giving you more RP the longer you stay alive in a match, as opposed to Season 12, where the amount of kills per match is what influenced your rank. But it can be very alienating for fans who would prefer that Apex Legends just pick one thing and stick to it, build for this community, or at least don't stop developing for them along the way. Again, something that Call of Duty fragments its audience between the zombies enjoyers, multiplayer enjoyers, ranked enjoyers, Warzone enjoyers. Each season, maybe big map gets an update, maybe small one. Like, it's not satisfying for everybody. He also drew attention to the game's engagement-based matchmaking, which means that if you take a break from Apex for a few days, you're going to be placed into lobbies with lower-leveled players before suddenly being placed into the lobbies full of sweats. It's annoying for higher-level players who want to be challenged and not have to be forced to play with the lower-ranked of players from just taking a short break from the game, and annoying for the lower-leveled players to have to deal with sometimes playing against higher-level players who are just going to easily stomp them, especially in a game with such a big skill gap like this. And this is all assuming that you can get into a lobby in the first place, as some players are complaining about being stuck in lobby queues for indefinite amounts of time, not being able to find games, even though they still have very solid player counts. When one of the biggest content creators is pointing out these issues and saying that they're going to be stepping away from the game, you know that that's just not a good sign for the future of the game. If the players that are the most hardcore, the most into it and excited to play it, don't want to play it, that's something that's going to also dissuade other people from even getting involved in the game in the first place. And when one of the biggest players of the game is saying these things, there's probably some impact and influence to his direct audience or people that might listen to him, but I think it's really more of an indicator for what is really going on and is part of the reason that the numbers are dropping. There's a lot of other factors that go into this as well, especially when you need to be constantly bringing new players in and the game has gone on for this long. There is as big of a skill gap as there is. People don't want that skill gap removed with just, easy relic weapons, whatever introduced, who are already existing. They also have so much more knowledge, understanding all the abilities, which are very influential in this game, on top of how many different classes there are in the game and abilities there are to learn. Even myself, when I hopped back in on this game the other day to see what it was like, and while they haven't added a new legend for an extremely long time as it is, I still hadn't played 3 of them, didn't know the reworks to the new Lifeline Ultimate. I didn't know what, there's a giant ring that was down, I didn't know what the heck was going on. There's so many abilities and things, it's a very difficult game to get into if you don't stay up on it. I felt very similarly after playing Rainbow Six Siege for as long as I did, and then start to get out of it. Now you got to learn all these new characters, the reworks, even the maps that you were already familiar with. Now they've changed. And maybe it's just getting to the end of what the possible life cycle for the game can even be. Same with Warzone. Maybe they've run out of the potential to keep creating for these games. Now, personally, I feel there is still so much more that can be done with any of them. Even in Warzone, man, if they kept just dropping new content that actually worked, Halo, Destiny 2, Apex itself has so many fans that love, that have attachments. Even if it's not current, maybe you don't play the game right now, but if they released something good, I'm sure a lot of us will be down to play. Games can be complicated and be very fun. Look at what's happened with Marvel Rivals and how many characters and things there are to learn there. It's going insane. It seems to me like it's more of an issue on the development side. And I don't necessarily even know what goes into that full process. I've never made a game before. And I think a lot of these games are learning what it takes to continue a game into the long term, because we also haven't had games supported into the long term like this. It's more relatively new, this live service that so many games are trying to get right, but only a few are really nailing it.
And I do want to note, I have been out of the loop for Apex for a very long time. I've just
heard a lot of issues with the game, being on the outside looking in, and I do know they have quite a strong competitive community. At least ALGS always looks poppin', and I would imagine that the ranked grinders on this game have had a lot of fun, especially for the number of seasons that the game has, how many updates and improvements they have made over the years. And I say this about a lot of games, it doesn't have to be a permanent game that's going to be around for another 20 years to have been a good game. I had a great experience from what I played of it. The fact it still has as many players as it does is quite impressive. But what do you guys think? Is Apex Legends really dead? Are you still playing it? It used to be the main game on this channel, so I'm sure some of you guys are around from back in the day and have stories of why you stopped playing. But I will say, when I did play the other day, there was a small subset that was absolutely stoked to see me on the game. And I will say, the frame rate was awesome. How smooth all the abilities, animations, the look, the design of the game felt, as I did learn some of the updates that were made to the game. It was good to see, at least from a very long time not playing the game. And I think it's not all doom and gloom. Respawn has announced that Season 24 will be coming February the 11th. Could possibly have a new character called Artemis. Will they be providing quality of life updates, issue fixes? We'll have to wait and see. I was going to throw Apex Legends into one of my videos going back to some of the old Battle Royale games that are deceased, but this one's still going more, at least for now. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks so much for watching. StelMouse64, over and out.